The rain-slicked streets of Portland glistened under the sodium glow of streetlights, a city caught in the throes of an October storm. Inside the central precinct, the air buzzed with the frenetic energy of shift-change officers trading clipped banter, the clatter of keyboards, and the faint aroma of burnt coffee. Amid the chaos, Officer Sarah Bennett knelt beside her K-9 partner, a Belgian Malinois named Kodiak. His amber eyes locked onto hers, unwavering as she fastened his tactical vest, the word police emblazoned across its side. Kodiak's ears twitched at the distant wail of a siren, his muscular frame taut with anticipation. "Kodiak, you ready to make the streets a little safer?" Sarah asked, her voice a mix of affection and steel. He tilted his head, a silent acknowledgement, his focus unbroken. 3 years together had forged a bond that transcended words, a partnership built on trust, instinct, and an uncanny ability that had made Kodiak a legend in the department. Tonight, that bond would be tested in ways neither could have foreseen. The call came at 7:45 a.m., crackling through the radio as Sarah and Kodiak Navi gated the precinct's parking garage toward their specialized K-9 SUV. Unit K-17, respond to Cascade Plaza, North Entrance. Security reports a suspected shoplifter, possible link to recent organized retail thefts. Management requests K-9 presence. Sarah's hand tightened on the wheel as she flicked on the lights, the SUV cutting through the morning drizzle. "K-17 en route, ETA 6 minutes," she replied, her tone clipped but calm. Kodiak's ears perked, sensing the shift in her demeanor. He knew the drill. This wasn't just a job. It was a mission. Cascade Plaza loomed ahead, a sprawling complex of glass and steel, its corridors teeming with early shoppers despite the rain. A school holiday had drawn families, their chatter echoing off the polished floors as Sarah and Kodiak entered through the north entrance. Kodiak moved with precision, his training evident in every step, ignoring the curious stares of children and the occasional outstretched hand. Security Chief Marcus Delgado met them just inside, his face a mask of professional urgency. "Officer Bennett, thanks for coming. We got a suspect in custody tried to walk out with $800 in designer sunglasses. Store manager's pressing charges, and we suspect he's part of a bigger ring." Sarah nodded, her eyes scanning the bustling atrium. "We'll take his statement and transport him for processing. Any witnesses?" Delgado gestured toward a small group near the security office. A teenage cashier, an older woman with a walker, and a pregnant woman in a green sweater, her hand resting on her rounded belly. The woman in green, Laura Grayson, saw him tampering with the display case. She tipped us off. As Sarah approached the witnesses, Kodiak at her side, she began the familiar routine: build rapport, gather details, clarify inconsistencies. "Mrs. Grayson, I'm Officer Bennett. I understand you witnessed the incident. Can you walk me through what you saw?" Before Laura could respond, Kodiak froze. His body went rigid, nose twitching, his gaze locked on Laura with an intensity Sarah had seen only in their most critical cases. Without warning, he let out a series of sharp, urgent barks, not his usual alert, but something raw, almost desperate. "Kodiak, quiet," Sarah commanded, her voice firm but laced with confusion. The dog ignored her, a first in their 3 years together. He strained toward Laura, his barks growing louder, drawing startled glances from shoppers. Laura stepped back, her hand instinctively shielding her belly. "Is he okay? Is he dangerous?" Her voice trembled, her eyes wide with fear. "I'm so sorry," Sarah said, her cheeks flushing as she tugged Kodiak's lead, trying to regain control. "He's highly trained. This isn't normal." Delgado's expression darkened. "Officer Bennett, maybe you should take the dog outside. We can handle the statements without him." The crowd was growing, phones raised, capturing the scene. Sarah's stomach churned at the thought of a VY Ral VY Deo showing a police dog seemingly threatening a pregnant woman. "Kodiak, heel," she ordered, her tone sharper. He obeyed reluctantly, sitting but keeping his eyes fixed on Laura, a low whine escaping his throat. Sarah's mind raced. This wasn't aggression or a training lapse. Kodiak was trying to tell her something urgent. She'd seen this Beehive VUI, or before during a warehouse fire when he'd located a trapped worker through choking smoke, or when he'd pinpointed a gunshot VY Tim hidden in an alley, bleeding out from a wound no one else could see. Mrs. Grayson, I know this is strange, but are you feeling any unusual symptoms? Pain, dizziness, anything out of the ordinary? Sarah asked, ignoring Delgado's impatient glance. Laura frowned, one hand rubbing her lower back. Just the usual aches. I'm 8 months along, so it's normal to feel some pressure. What? Delgado cleared his throat. Officer, we need to process the suspect and clear this area. If your K-9 can't maintain discipline, we'll have to proceed without you. Sarah nodded, torn between protocol and the nagging certainty that Kodiak's Beehive VUI or wasn't random. I understand. Mrs. Grayson, I'll take your statement quickly so you can go. As Laura recounted the shoplifter's actions, Kodiak sat trembling, his focus unwavering. Sarah scribbled notes, her embarrassment warring with a growing unease. Kodiak had never been wrong, not once. When the statement was complete, Sarah hesitated. Mrs. Grayson, would you mind if the mall's medic checks your VY towels? Kodiak's trained in medical detection, and his Beehive VUI, or suggests he's picking up on something. Laura's husband, Ethan, had joined her, his expression skeptical. We're already late for her OB appointment. Is this really necessary? Sarah pressed gently. It'll take 2 minutes. Kodiak's detected things before like internal bleeding that doctors missed until it was almost too late. Ethan relented, and the mall's medic, a wiry ex-paramedic named Torres, arrived with a kit. He checked Laura's blood pressure and pulse, his movements efficient. Everything's fine, he said, packing up. Blood pressure's a bit high, but that's normal after standing around. Rest before your appointment, and you'll be good. Laura smiled weakly. See? Nothing to worry about. Your dog probably smelled my lunch or something. As the Graysons walked toward the parking lot, Kodiak strained again, whining softly. Sarah's gut twisted. She'd trusted Kodiak through countless cases his nose had found EVY Denke, human tech couldn't, save lives when hope was gone. Today, everyone had dismissed him, including her. But the look in his eyes, the urgency in his posture, told her this wasn't over. Back in the SUV, rain hammering the roof, Sarah sat with Kodiak's lead in her hands. What were you trying to tell me, boy? She murmured. His gaze flicked toward the mall, unwavering. She thought back to their first case together, a missing hiker in the Columbia Gorge. Search teams had given up after 48 hours, but Kodiak had followed a blood trail so faint it was invisible to lab tests, leading them to the man, alive but hypothermic. His nose was a miracle, honed by years of training and a rare genetic gift that let him detect blood at levels science could barely measure. Sarah pulled out her phone and searched for Laura Grayson. A social media profile popped up, confirming her identity. Listed under her name was Grayson Legal Consulting, with an address in the Pearl District. Sarah hesitated, her thumb hovering over the GPS app. Following up without a case number was a risk, potentially a career ender. But Kodiak's certainty was unshakable. She started the engine. All right, partner, let's do this. But we're playing it safe. The Pearl District high-rise gleamed against the gray sky, its glass facade reflecting the city's muted colors. Sarah had swapped her uniform for a jacket, her badge tucked inside. Kodiak sat in the passenger seat, his training collar on, but his vest removed. This is probably nothing, she told him, though his alertness suggested otherwise. When Laura's silver sedan pulled into the underground garage, Kodiak's reaction was immediately a low whine, his body leaning forward. Sarah's pulse quickened. Okay, buddy. Carefully. The concierge stopped them in the lobby, eyeing Kodiak warily. No pets in the common areas without approval. Sarah flashed her badge, keeping her tone light. I'm Officer Bennett, Portland PD. Just following up with a resident, Laura Grayson. It'll be quick. After a brief call, The concierge waved them through. 15th floor, apartment 1504. In the elevator, Sarah second-guessed herself. No warrant, no official reason, just a dog's instinct and her gut. If the Graysons complained, she'd face a disciplinary re-VYEW, maybe worse. But Kodiak's focus hadn't wavered. At apartment 1504, Ethan answered, his casual sweater a contrast to his earlier suit. His expression shifted from curiosity to irritation. "Officer Bennett, is there an issue with Laura's statement?" "No issue," Sarah said, her voice steady. "I want to check on her." Kodiak's behavior or this morning was unusual, and in my experience, that's worth a second look. She gestured to Kodiak, who stood alert, his nose already working. Ethan's jaw tightened, but he stepped aside. "Laura's resting. She's been feeling worse this afternoon, but her doctor says it's normal at this stage." The apartment was sleek, with panoramic views of the Willamette River. Laura lay on a couch, a blanket over her legs, her face pale. She sat up, startled. "Officer Bennett, is something wrong?" Before Sarah could respond, Kodiak tensed, his nose twitching, his gaze locked on Laura's midsection. He whined urgently, the same sound he'd used during a search and rescue op when he'd found a climber bleeding internally. "I'm sorry for the unannounced sit," Sarah said, gripping Kodiak's lead. Kodiak's trained to detect blood, even in trace amounts. His reaction suggests something's off. "Have you had any new symptoms since this morning?" Laura winced, pressing a hand to her side. "More pain, and I've been dizzy when I stand. My doctor said it's just the baby pressing on my spine." Ethan crossed his arms. "You're saying your dog knows more than her OBGYN?" Sarah met his gaze. Kodiak's detected internal bleeding through concrete. He's never wrong when he alerts like this. Laura's eyes widened, fear creeping into her voice. "My cousin had a placental issue last year. Could it be something like that?" Sarah's training kicked in. "When's your doctor's appointment?" Ethan checked his phone. 2 hours. We were about to head out. Sarah shook her head. "I recommend going to the hospital now." Kodiak's behavior or suggests internal bleeding, possibly a placental abruption. It can escalate fast. Laura's hand trembled on her belly. "It's getting worse, Ethan. I don't feel right." Ethan's skepticism crumbled. "I'll call an ambulance." Sarah was already on her phone, dialing 911. "This is Officer Bennett, requesting immediate EMS for a possible obstetric emergency. 15th floor, Pearl District. Suspected placental abruption based on K9 detection." The ambulance arrived in 8 minutes, paramedics bursting into the apartment with practiced efficiency. The lead, a veteran named Carter, assessed Laura as her condition deteriorated, her skin clammy, her breathing shallow. Sarah stepped forward. "My K9's trained to detect blood. He's indicating possible internal bleeding." Carter's eyes flicked to Kodiak, recognition dawning. "You're the team from the warehouse fire. All right, let's move." Suspected abruption, alert trauma at Riverfront Medical. Sarah followed in her SUV, Kodiak secured in the back. The radio crackled with updates. "Patient unresponsive, BP crashing, ETA 3 minutes. Sarah's hands gripped the wheel. "You were right, Kodiak. You knew." At Riverfront Medical, a trauma team was ready, whisking Laura to surgery. Dr. Amara Patel, the lead obstetrician, approached Sarah. "Your dog detected this?" "How?" "He's trained to smell blood at levels humans can't detect," Sarah explained. "He alerted at the mall this morning, then again at her apartment." Dr. Patel nodded. Her vitals suggest a concealed hemorrhage. "Can he pinpoint the source?" Sarah led Kodiak to the trauma bay, where Laura lay surrounded by monitors. Kodiak moved deliberately, then sat, placing a paw on the lower left quadrant of her abdomen. "Lower left," Dr. Patel noted. "Possible left-sided abruption. Prep or 2. Alert neonatal." As Laura was wheeled away, Ethan grabbed Sarah's arm. "If we'd waited." His voice broke. "She's in good hands," Sarah said, though the stakes were clear. In the waiting room, Ethan paced, the silence heavy. "How did he know?" he asked finally. Sarah explained Kodiak's training, his ability to detect biomarkers of abnormal bleeding. An hour later, Dr. Patel returned, her face tired but relieved. Laura's stable. We delivered girl, premature but strong. The abruption was exactly where your dog indicated. Without his alert, we wouldn't have acted in time. Ethan sank into a chair, tears in his eyes. Her name's Hannah Kodiak Grayson. We chose the middle name for him. Sarah's throat tightened. That's an honor. But Kodiak's the hero. Over the next month, Hannah thrived in the NICU, and Kodiak's story spread. The hospital launched a pilot program to screen high-risk pregnancies. Kodiak's Nose Pro VYing more sensitive than any machine. Sarah and Kodiak VY cited weekly, their bond with the Graysons growing. On Hannah's discharge day, Ethan handed Sarah a framed photo of Hannah, a tiny badge engraved with K. 9 saw VY, or Kodiak. As they left the hospital, Sarah looked at Kodiak, his eyes bright with quiet pride. Some instincts defied explanation. Some bonds transcended logic. Together, they'd rewritten a family's story and, perhaps, the future of medicine itself.